Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the TUC-B1 solid top mahogany concert ukulele. I bought this one on sale quite a long time ago. It's been in a pile of ukuleles to review, and I have something that I want to do with this one. So I wanted to review it, and I also am going to be selling its counterpart that I bought. I bought two of these about the same time. And I want to sell the counterpart, so I also want to do a comparison video before I do that other project with this instrument. So I decided to get this one done and reviewed. So just as a side note, the UkeStuff, this rating here of the UkeGuide really comes from the idea of the appliances we sell here in the United States that, you know, they call it an energy guide that show you how you're using energy with a particular appliance you're going to buy. You can find that summary document at ukestuff.info on the UkeGuide page, where I've got, I don't know, 150 different reviews of ukuleles that I've done over the years in this format. And you can also find all the videos here. Again, if you don't want to hear me talking about it, there are a couple things you can do. You can go right to that UkeGuide, or you can skip ahead to parts of this video since there are chapters that matter to your interests. So what are we going to do in this video? First of all, we'll look at subjective categories that I look at for all instruments. Then we'll talk about the specifications. Then I'll summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. All right, so let's begin. Subjective categories. First of all, cost. From what I could see on Keepa, Keepa is a great way to look at the historic values of instruments and so everything really on Amazon. When these were last available, they were $40. I think at one point they were selling close to $70, but they were on sale at one point for under $30. So I bought one. I should have bought a bunch, but I bought one. I also bought one of its counterpart, the A1. This is the B1. The A1 is not in that black stain, but has sort of a lighter mahogany stain. And I'll be doing a comparison video with these two, and I'll be sharing on the channel later. So yeah, so under $40. At $40 for a long time, but sadly it's no longer available, although as I'm recording this, there is one of the TUC-A1 models available on Amazon, still for under $40. That's amazing. If somebody needs an ukulele, grab that one up quick, because it's a very, very decent starter ukulele. I think of all the not so good ukuleles that are available for far more, not just from Amazon, local dealers, or everything else, when you can buy something like this, and this was under $30, that's just a mind-blowing experience. Of course, that was, I think, before the peak of the pandemic, if the pandemic had even hit at that point. So anyway, that, you know, so the price was around $40, maybe up to $70, under $30 at one point. So all over across the board, it was very affordable. And the value then, at that price, was astronomical. It was an unbelievable bargain. And let me show you the other things you get. Some really amazing things. Tom is still in business. They still have a website. They're still selling other models even on Amazon. But you got a pretty decent gig bag that was really well protected. A little different shape to it. Had this neat Tom logo, you know, on it, which is, you know, a plasticky logo, but it was added. And Tom lining, you've got a little neck loop in there. Can you see that? For your headstock, so your instrument isn't bumping around. You've got backpack straps that aren't super padded, but they're there. You've got a hook to hang it on. No bumper or anything, but that's a really decent gig bag as gig bags go. And then you got a kit of things. What did you all get? Well, the couple negative things, but it's still a decent kit. They sent you a Tom neck strap, ukulele strap. I don't like these, and this is the same one that came also with the A1, although the A1, the lighter colored one, had strap buttons. Why this one doesn't, I don't know. So that's one thing that I'm going to be adding. That's not the secret project, but that's something I'm going to be adding. It comes with a guitar capo. Now, why they had to include a guitar capo, I will never know. That is ludicrous as well, because you're dealing with a ukulele, not a guitar. So that's way too big. But that's all right. I mean, it's a capo. You get a cleaning cloth. They call it a wipe cloth. That doesn't quite translate so well into the English. And then they look like Aquila strings, but they're not. But it does come with clear strings of some kind. They almost have a purplish haze like a D'Addario titanium, but I do not think they are. I don't mind the strings, but of course, you know, if I was going to be keeping this, I might be tempted to put Martins on it. And then it also comes with a tuner as well. So that's a pretty good kit. That's a pretty decent kit for $40. The gig bag and the ukulele alone are worth that. At $30, it's a steal. So the value was extreme when I bought this. The build quality overall, it's pretty good. It's well done. I do notice that there's a spot in the sound hole, if you can see, where the stain wasn't done completely. The other side was pretty well done, but the side that you actually see as a player sticking at you, you see a little bit of undone finish right there. Now, one of the things I do in these videos is I actually take a pocket endoscope and we take a look at what's happening on the actual inside of the ukulele. So let's do that. I've got the endoscope recording here, and here we go inside it. We can take a look. All right, so looking at the inside of the ukulele, it's pretty clean in there. Traditional build, notch kerfing. You can see the horizontal bracing. You can see the fan bracing on the top. You can see that it is a solid top. If I get a little further back, you can see the bridge plate that's there. A little bit of excess glue up there. Really not elsewhere in the ukulele, but certainly on the bridge there's a little bit of excess glue, and there's the fan bracing. Other than that, it's a pretty clean build, pretty decent quality of laminate for the sides and the back, and of course a solid top. So let's take a look at the upper bout of the instrument. All right, so looking at the upper bout here, again you can see the laminate, you can see the solid mahogany on the top, you can see the neck block, as you could see the tail block underneath. You can see it has some kind of stamp. Not sure what that number is necessarily, because I do not think this ukulele was built in 2010. The quality standards are probably too high for that. But other than that, it's a pretty clean build. And that's our quick look at the inside of this Tom TUC-B1 ukulele. Although, I do have to note before we leave, professional is misspelled, which is ironic in its own sort of way. All right, so as you can see on the inside, pretty clean. The professional misspelling is funny, gotta admit. Other than that, it's built pretty well. It does seem to have bound edges on the fretboard, but they're not really deep, and I can start to feel some of the frets, although I've had this one for quite some time, and it has not been specially humidified, although it is being stored near a hot tub, which should help where that is getting some extra humidity. So the build quality is pretty good. Now, in terms of appearance, I like how this looks. This really appeals to me, but it's very plain. But it's the color that's going to be of interest to many people. And it looks like the stain is uneven. I don't think those are fingerprints. I think that's actually weird staining. So some people may not like that. Some people may not like that laser etched rosette. I think of Barry Maz that got an ukulele. He often shudders when he sees an etched, laser etched rosette. This one in particular doesn't bother me, especially on that dark ukulele. But it is very plain. I mean, other than the stain, there's not much else to say other than this T is actually a metal stamp. It's not a sticker that's stamped into the wood. And as a result, I like that better than the T that's on the A1. This is the B1 model. So the appearance is very plain, but I like this a lot more just in looks. And I didn't think that the A1 was unattractive, but I like how this looks more, which is why I'm keeping this one and planning a special project for it. Now, in terms of availability, they're not available right now. They don't even seem to be on the Tom website. So maybe they'll bring them back someday. But as for now, if you want one of these, you're going to have to look for them on the used market. In terms of playability, you have two things going on. You have low action, which actually is so low that sometimes it gives me some problems because I'm used to pressing too hard to get notes out. And then it's a standard 35mm nut with a thick C-shaped neck. I say this a lot in the videos. Very common for an import ukulele. I'm used to it, but people with large hands may not like it, so I do mention that that could impact playability for you. Now, in terms of sound quality, I think it's pretty good, especially for an instrument that's made partially out of laminate. So it does have both qualities. It has a little bit of that bassiness of a laminate, along with some of the brighter qualities and more open tonal qualities of a solid top. They're both there. I think different strings could help more. These are D'Addario EJ65 clear nylon strings. They aren't terrible. I don't hate them. I do not like the D'Addario titanium at all. Not a fan of those, but I don't hate these strings. But I do wonder what just a plain clear fluorocarbon would be like on it. I would definitely give it a try. The volume is really average. It's not a super loud ukulele, and perhaps if anything lets these models down, it's that volume isn't fantastic, but it doesn't have to be. It's a good tone. It's not a volume that's so soft you're going to get lost at like a group play along or anything like that. In fact, people might like it because it doesn't, bark at you necessarily. So it's just as a side note, it's just not super loud. The tone, however, is balanced, but it's more towards the bright side. What I notice is when you play, the sustain is the mid-range and lower part lasts just as long, maybe a little bit longer than the higher frequencies. So the tone does tend to be a little bit on the bright side overall, but the frequency that seems to carry the most is the lowest. It's a weird combination, but it's not unpleasing at all. Now, one of the things I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing by using the app Tonal Energy Tuner. And what I do is I play the C chord into the ukulele and let you see what's happening with the Harmonic Energy series as I play. So here we go. Now, as you can see, when you play the chord, there's the whole light up of the spectrum, but what hangs on are those lower frequencies. And the sound is actually hanging on longer than Tonal Energy Tuner is picking it up. As a comparison point, if you want to see a different instrument made of laminate, this has, again, a solid top that has a very, very different frequency response to an even slightly better sound, I think, for an instrument. Check out the recent review I did of the Parapole Classic Concert Ukulele. That one lights up the spectrum and everything lights up for a long time before it fades out. In this case, the top part disappears and then the bottom part sustains. So the tone isn't bad. It's a good tone. What hits you is the bright tone. What hangs on is the dark side of the tone. Again, it's not unpleasing, it's just a little different. I don't dislike it, but just so you're aware of what you're getting when you buy that instrument. All right, now that we've looked at the subjective categories, let's go into the specifications. It is a concert scale instrument with a 15-inch scale length from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body, and it does have side position marker dots at 5, 7, 10, 12, and also way up here at 15. That's also true of the A1 I was looking at the other day. The double bout body, traditional. Soundboard is solid mahogany, while the back and sides are laminate mahogany, and they match pretty well, really, all together. The fretboard is rosewood, and it is not radiused. The bridge is a tie bar rosewood bridge, too. And that rosewood brown actually works pretty well with the dark black stain of the instrument. The nut and saddle are supposed to be bone. It's a little bit white, in my opinion, to be bone, but hey, just maybe that's the contrast with the instrument. It is not a compensated saddle. It has a dark black matte satin finish. The overall length is 23.75 inches, so just short of 24. It weighs 1 pound, 0.5 ounces, only 0.2 ounces off of the A1. So again, basically the same instrument. There are open geared tuners that work really nicely. They feel nice. Nice shaped buttons, and they operate very smoothly, and they're attractive. The action at the first fret is under 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret is 2.25 millimeters, so very low action. The nut width is 35.04 millimeters, so 35 millimeters basically is what you're looking at there. And the string spacing between the strings at the first fret is 8.81 millimeters between each string, for a total of 28.92 millimeters from G to A. Pretty standard for a 35 millimeter nut. The depth of the neck at the third fret, just where I measure it from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, is 21.56 millimeters with a pretty rounded C-shaped neck. So again, with that narrow spacing, not for me, but for some people, and that thick neck, people with large hands may not like this instrument. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories and the specifications, let's summarize this instrument. There were two versions of this instrument available, a lighter colored one and a darker colored one. I ordered both from Amazon when they were on a ridiculous sale, and I'm glad that I bought them. A couple of great instruments to review, and really a nice product overall. They both have a 35 millimeter nut and a C-shaped neck, but in both cases the sound was really pretty decent, and you also got a great kit that came with it, and on top of that, great action, great feeling instrument to play because the action is so low. So even though the spacing might be a little tight and the neck might be a little thick, the action makes up for the difference in the playability for it. The volume is okay. It's not great. That might be its lowest point in terms of sound, but the tone is pleasing. Now, be aware that if you buy one of these, it does have a solid top, so you will probably want to put a little more attention on making sure that you humidify your instrument if you live somewhere where the humidity drops below 40% relative humidity where you store your instrument. So do keep that in mind. Oddly, this instrument didn't include strap buttons where the A1 did. Would I recommend this instrument? Absolutely, especially at the price of $40 or less if you can find one. I have special plans for this one, which will be coming up on the channel in the future. So if I was to give this instrument a rating out of 5 possible ukuleles, what would the rating be? Well, I gave the A1 4.5 out of 5, and this one I'm only going to give a 4. I might say, why? If it's basically the same instrument, it's missing one thing. It's missing strap buttons. And quite honestly, by the time that I install strap buttons, I've just raised the price of the instrument over the cost of the A1 with the B1 because I've had to add strap buttons that the A1 came with. Now, in both cases, I was going to pull it out here. Both cases, both instruments came with this sort of neck strap. So why the A1 came without a traditional, neck strap for buttons and this kind of neck strap, I do not know. But still, it had the strap buttons that I could use an existing strap with. This one does not, and as such, I'm just going to drop it a half an ukulele. So I'm just going to give this one 4 out of 5. It's still a pretty high, safe recommendation, and again, I would recommend it. The only things I would try to do would be put on strap buttons, and then I would try different strings just because I like to try different strings. Can't wait to show you what's coming with this one in the future with sort of the experiment that I've got planned for it. All right, so that's our review of the Tom Solid Top Mahogany, Black Mahogany Concert Ukulele, the TUC-B1. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.